this is one of our last interviews for Volunteer Week. Just to kind of set the scene and give you a bit of context, LSBU alumni act as the lasting connection to the university. Our alumni are examples of what success looks like, overcoming barriers, creating opportunities, and smashing any glass ceilings along the way. We believe it's what you do that matters. So we are celebrating and asking some of our amazing alumni volunteers why it's important to them to give back and use their time in such an inspiring and rewarding way. Our volunteers are change makers, they're doers, they take action and they get involved in projects that change communities. Volunteering at LSBU creates a community that thrives with change. I'm Jodie, Senior Officer in Marketing and Events in the Alumni and Development team.
Hi, I'm Sally. I'm Senior Officer for Alumni Volunteering in the Alumni and Development team. And we're joined today by Purity Hrisca. So, welcome, Purity.
Thank you so much, Sally, and thank you so much, Jodie. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
No problem. So Purity, just to kick off, tell us a little bit about what you studied at LSBU and why you chose that particular course.
Yes, I did a BSc in Food Science, and I finished in 2015. I studied as a mature student, and my course took 5 years, was supposed to take 6 years because I studied part-time for the simple fact that I was working in the industry and I was not ready to quit my job. So as a mature student and a person working in London, one of the things I liked about London South Bank was the location. Because back in those days, I was working somewhere near Vauxhall and I could just run from work and attend lectures or labs. So it was perfect.
That's a story so many of our students or prospective students would resonate with, that balancing of working and studying. And I'm just thinking back, Purity, you've done a variety of volunteering with us. Could I ask you to kind of go back to when you graduated and your volunteering journey with LSBU, what you did, what kind of things you got involved with, and also why you give back to LSBU? Why do you give back in a voluntary capacity?
Yeah, the reason why I give back is that feeling that I need to give back to the community, because even during my time when I was studying, others before me gave back and they gave their time. And it's also to inspire young generations, because especially in my field, in the food industry, for instance, there is quite a lot of potential. And I do feel that even still keeping my links with the former institutions that I associate with, it's one way of encouraging younger generations to follow a similar career path as mine. Yeah.
And you volunteered at Open Days on campus a few times, from my understanding. Can you tell us a little bit about why it matters to you to be face? Obviously, we can't at the moment, but why did it matter to you to volunteer, to be face to face with prospective students on campus? What kind of change and impact were you hoping to have?
Yeah, the key thing that I can think of is when you're new and you're scouting around for a course, it's one thing to speak with somebody who's gone through the same journey compared to speaking to a lecturer, for instance, because when you speak to an alumni who has been there, they know what the uni offers, they know what are the challenges, then I think those are the right people to be speaking with. And I think for a potential student, it's just being available for them, being there for them so that they have a former student of the uni to speak with and to share with them openly how their journey was like.
Yeah, and a little bit on your experience in face-to-face. Do you have a memorable moment that you can share with us that you was on campus and you was volunteering and it was a moment that reaffirmed to you, this is why I'm here, this is why I continue to give back? Do you have any memories that you can share?
It's those filling in the blanks for students.
Mm-hmm.
That was the greatest. You know, when somebody is asking, maybe they're also mature students, and they're asking, they've got those fears where they think maybe I'm too old, or do I want to get into this? And then they hear from someone who's gone through the journey, and you see they are getting it, and actually you I enthused whoever I spoke with. So for me, that meant I felt like I had achieved what I set out to do. That reassurance to somebody who really needed it. Because again, taking a step, to get into studies, I'm not talking about youngsters who've just come out of A levels and all that. If it's somebody in the industry and who's been out of studying for a couple of years, they have that, lack of confidence, self-confidence, and they need that reassurance. It's not that they can't do it, but many people wonder, how is it like when I was studying, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Have things changed? Will I manage? Or will I have to drop out after 1 year? So when you have somebody, who's gone through that and who faced all those insecurities of not being a 20 or an 18-year-old, just continuing from A levels. So when you speak to somebody who went through the same journey, it's different.
It definitely is. And from mature to other mature students, past and present, they do kind of say a similar thing, where it feels like there's a lot riding on it. There's a lot of risk, there's a lot riding on it, whether it's the pressure of failing and letting family down, or whether it's upsetting that, the apple cart with their employers or things like that. There always seems to be a lot riding on it. I wanted to ask, what has your degree done for you in your career? And you said that when you were studying, there were people there like alumni that inspired you, or people that were giving you advice. Can you draw on that, about any really great advice that you had while studying at LSBU from perhaps an alumni or a lecturer?
Yeah, I would say from alumni, it was more of during open days when I was scouting for the course. And I spoke to a lady who had done food science before. And she reassured me, because for me, for instance, I came from an arts background. I was not science-based. I was working as a secretary before I embarked on a food science degree. So it was like a 360 turn, and it had been more than 15 years since I had studied. So I had my fears, wondering whether would I manage. And I had already spoken to my company, who sponsored 50% of my fees. So I was under pressure. So I had to perform, I had to deliver. There was no, I couldn't just after maybe one semester say, I can't do it, I'm dropping out. So, and also proving to myself that I'm capable. So there was for me, I just had to do it. And I think that added the pressure and the fact that, yeah, I didn't come from a science background. And even for my secondary and for my college, my early college years in my arts, I didn't study in UK. So it was quite a lot of unknown for me. But then I would say I had great lecturers. And to be honest, they guided us. So people like Delia Ojinaka, she's one of the lecturers in the faculty. And I had people like Ken Spears, who was also my supervisor. I would say great lecturers, and who also inspired me, because again, having come from an African country, we were used, people with such positions, they wanted to be called doctors and all that. And then you find these people who are, who've studied to such high levels, they've got their doctorates, and they want you to refer them by their first name. They're just in their own lane. They don't feel, they are not feeling like they need to demonstrate anything. So for me, that was also very inspiring.
I'd love to know, beyond the alumni you engaged with and your lecturers, who inspires you personally? Who do you look to for motivation? Because you seem very in tune with the feeling of people lacking confidence, or feeling lost, or not feeling reassured, and you want to offer that to them. Who offers it to you in your personal life?
In my personal life, to be honest, I've got mentors, for instance, and I've got all these, people who I look up to. When I see other women who've succeeded, I believe that can be me, that there are no barriers. So for instance, if Oprah can do it, so can I. And the only thing which stops me from being like an Oprah is just me. So it's also, it's the story I tell myself, and personal beliefs. That's what I would say is my biggest motivation. And again, I think this comes from trying and succeeding.
Yeah.
So when you do something, you succeed, then you get more courage, and I can do something else. So if I did that, so I can do anything.
You're so positive. I love it. You gave us a video for our alumni takeover that we did last year, lockdown, for our students, just to give them a bit of a message to, reassure them, let them know that everything was okay and they can push through. And in your message, you said something about maintaining a positive mindset, and you seem like such a positive person. So how do you maintain your positive mindset? And what advice do you have for anybody else who's struggling with that?
I'll tell you, it's a case of these stories you tell yourself, and sometimes stepping out of whatever is bothering you and thinking that anything can happen in this world, but what will bother you is your interpretation of it. It's how you interpret it and the choices you make. And I'll not say that usually my days, I sail smoothly. I've got those moments, but I snap out of it quickly because I remind myself, it's either I can solve it. If I can solve it, I'll tell you what, I just decide to kick it and just forget about it. I will look for the solutions, but I'll not sit there feeling sorry for myself and wondering, why did this have to happen? Why now? What now? It's, can I solve it? Maybe this way, maybe this other way. If I can't, I just forget about it, and I'll tell you what, most of the time it works.
The thing that I took from that was your interpretation of it. Like, that really hit me. I'm like, yes, that's really hit me. The way you talk is amazing. Like, I love this. Do you mentor yourself? Are you in a position to be a mentor?
Yes, and I've got mentees. I mentor some people at work, and also because I did my master's with Greenwich Uni, I'm also on their mentoring scheme. So if you guys have a mentoring scheme, I would love to give back, because like what I tell my mentees, because I've got some master's students who I'm mentoring at the moment. It's a case of encouraging them and telling them, no matter how many doors are closed in your face, because that's the biggest challenge at the moment for students. Getting placements, it's a big challenge, especially with COVID and all that. Tell them, yes, many will be closed in your face. Don't turn that story and start thinking it's something against you. That just means try the next door and the next. You've got nothing to lose, Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, you've touched on obviously some of the challenges that the current graduates and the last year's graduates are having in terms of the pandemic and jobs market. And you're talking about mentoring and how you do that already. And you touched it slightly, but I'd just like to ask you, why do you think it is important to care and inspire the next generation through your volunteering and support?
Because first and foremost, we are growing old. Look at us, and we need people to step into our shoes. But if we don't inspire them, I can ask you, when you are in school, had you ever heard about food science degree and all that? Because for me, I heard about it when I started working in the industry. It's not promoted that much. I think even parents, they only steer their kids towards either doing medicine, being accountants, or IT, but you never hear, people talking of doing food science, for instance. I know nowadays some schools, they get into food tech, but my daughter, who goes to a grammar school, they had food tech. When funding was cut, that was closed. That was the first one to go.
Yeah,
so
I can relate to that. Food tech got cancelled. Food tech and I think sewing got cancelled for me. So your job is like, I'd have no understanding of what you do at all.
while there are so many jobs out there in the food industry and it's so diverse, you can do, I don't know, food technology, food science, new product development, product analysis, merchandising, supply chain, buying. It's so diverse.
We do actually speak to a lot of alumni that say, I found food science late, or I found building surveying into my 30s or 40s. I wish I knew about it when I was younger. And that sometimes drives some of our alumni to want to speak to students at open days, or, you know, in lectures or in schools, because they want to demystify this amazing career opportunity that maybe schools aren't really conveying because of lack of funding or lack of support. So that's a very, I think that's a really honest answer to that question. And if you ever want to kind of move forward with any other volunteering in that capacity, speaking to schools or prospective students, we'd love to be able to kind of give you that platform. And I think this comes to my next question about, you know, you're a very busy person, and time is very precious. But have you considered how you might want to have a relationship with us moving forward in terms of any voluntary roles? What would you like to do with LSBU to kind of make the change that you're so passionate about?
Yeah, you mentioned something there about like mentoring or speaking to schools. That's something I wouldn't mind picking up, to be honest, because again, for me, I want to be in a position to add value. So I would like to volunteer in roles that will add value. Yeah.
Amazing.
It will depend on what is going on at work, because I can tell you, like now, it has been quite for some time, but now things are picking up with opening. So my schedule is just crazy. That's why I took a call after work.
That's fine. We'd always consider your time, and you know, if an opportunity comes up, we'll give it to you, and if you can decide whether or not you want to move forward with it. I just wanted to ask you about impact and how important seeing the impact of what you do drives you. I mean, you, like Sally was saying, you're so busy and use so much of your spare time to give back to others. Is it important to you to see the impact of the time that you give others, to see the results in them?
Absolutely, because that's what I was talking about, value. You want to add value where you want to do something where you add the most value. So again, seeing that impact, for me, it is important. I just want to feel that, you know, I touched somebody in a positive way, or I made a difference in somebody's life, even if it's not material. Like now, what I tell my mentees from the word go, yes, they may have hopes that I'll probably help them land, you know, like that opportunity, placement opportunity they are looking for in the industry. I usually give them a disclaimer. I tell them, you know what, I will ask around. And if somebody mentions, I will remember because you are my mentees. But then I'll support you in other ways, change your outlook on things and how you approach things. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Purity. I think I'm out of questions. I'm just amazed, and I feel so positive and inspired by you and what you do and how you go about it and your mind state and how you talk about helping others. I might need to call you for like a motivational session. Like
if you want to add anytime. Anytime. No, for real. And when you think about it, most of the things in this life, it's however we take them. And you can only do what you believe you can. If you don't believe you can, then you can't do it.
100%.
Yeah, that's so important for our students to hear in particular, because not everyone has that worldly advice. You know, it speaks volumes really, that the power is inside for you to kind of change and realize your goals. So it's I know it comes from a really passionate place for you, and it's just a really valuable insight and mindset to kind of display to students and to those watching this. I just have a little bit of feedback from our team about your volunteering journey. Obviously, this is a video and an interview to kind of recognise and thank you publicly for all that you've done since you graduated, as a very important, valued relationship for us in terms of our alumni team. And so I've got this little bit of feedback, unless Joe, do you had any other questions? Otherwise I'll...
No, go right ahead.
So this is from the alumni relations team. So Purity, you have helped out on open days on campus and have spoken to students about your experience at LSBU and your inspiring career journey. You have shared your story with LSBU, a story about grit, hard work and determination. Last year, you responded to the Alumni Takeover campaign to send a message of hope and resilience to students studying and graduating into the pandemic. Thank you for supporting LSBU to break barriers and for being a visible role model for students at a crucial time for students from all degrees and all backgrounds. We value our relationship with you. That's from the LSBU Alumni Relations and Development team. So thank you, Purity.
Oh, that's so touching. Thank you. That's a lovely message. Appreciated. That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Purity. Again, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and allowing us to recognize you and celebrate you. And we can't wait for you to continue your relationship with us. And hopefully we can get you some more face-to-face, hopefully, volunteering opportunities. So again, thank you so much.